After my mother passed away, there were a few years where I was kind of lost, and then I had to make a decision. It was kind of, okay, let's find some goal in order to keep going, some motivation to keep going. The Tchaikovsky competition in 1986 was still the greatest music competition on earth. It was just so exciting to be there and be behind the Iron Curtain. It was kind of like being an Olympic athlete. I was the only American to win a prize in the violin competition. And I used it to play with bigger orchestras, to get better dates. And for a while, it really worked. I thought I was going to be a concert soloist. I got pretty close at some points. I had some really nice concerts. I did a lot of traveling. But as I kind of entered my early and mid-30s, I was playing more in small towns in the Midwest or in the South than I was in Boston or Philadelphia or New York or Paris or London. But I couldn't see the writing on the wall, and this is kind of a fatal flaw that I have, is that my ego wouldn't let me see that. I was kind of staying at home and cooking and playing golf and going away once in a while to give a little rinky-dink concert. And one night we went to see this movie, Jerry Maguire, and it's kind of a story about great success and then failure and then kind of an epiphany and then redemption. And for some reason, that movie had such an effect on me. I came downstairs in the middle of the night. Sounds kind of corny, but the moon was coming in through the skylight. And then it just hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, you know what? It's never going to happen. You're never going to get there. The next morning, my wife came down for breakfast, and I said, Janie, that's it. I'm going to join an orchestra. Now, I really feel like I'm the luckiest guy in the whole world. I can play the greatest music ever written. I vaguely remember, even when I was about 5 years old, my parents speaking at the breakfast table about the Schubert Cello Quintet, saying something like, man, wouldn't it be great to be able to play that second theme in the first movement? Because my mother was a pianist. She could never play it. And my father is a college professor, and he obviously never could play the Schubert Cello Quintet. Now, I play that music, and it is pure ecstasy. And I wish I could go back and say to my mom, oh, Mom, I'm doing it. It is incredible. You wouldn't believe it.
Because this film was crafted as a music education project, an educational partner was really essential from the beginning. But in reality, I'd say that educational partners can enhance the viability and impact of many documentary projects. Too often, producers focus on finishing their film and then try and craft an educational outreach after the fact. The earlier that you can begin working with an educational partner, the greater the likelihood that they, as an institution, will take ownership of the project, and hence you'll be able to reach their members in the same way. In the case of Music from the Inside Out, MENC, the National Association for Music Education, I don't know why they don't match, but that's it, was really the only game in town. They have a national membership of 100,000 members, and from pure distribution interests and needs, we needed to make sure that they were on board. They have print publications that go out to their members regularly. They have study guides. In fact, guides for this project will be included in those print publications. They have national and regional conferences in order to reach frontline educators. They have website, listservs, all kinds of communication vehicles that become a way of getting this project and all of its elements out to the target audience. Beyond broadcast. Any discussion of educational tools or partners brings up the question of national standards of learning. You can't emphasize enough how important that is. Every teacher teaches to the standards of learning in their individual coursework. So make sure you find out what the standards of learning are for any given topic. Working with advisors. An advisory panel is really essential, I think, in crafting a relationship with an educational partner. And the advisory panel serves two functions. One is a seal of approval in terms of letting any potential funders know that you really know what you're doing, that here are people who are experts in the field who really have paid attention to what you're trying to craft. And the second is from content, to make sure that the educational content of what you're doing is really on target. The panel can help you determine what form your educational materials should take. If you're going to put video into the classroom, what length they should be. Should it be CD, DVD, print, web-based? What's going to be the best way to reach the maximum number of this target audience. In the case of Music from the Inside Out, the advisory panel was instrumental in helping the producer develop, or Danny, develop a coherent educational philosophy that has really infused every aspect of the production from day one. In fact, production began with a meeting of the educational advisors even before the workshops that were filmed that you've got a sense of in here. The premise is which I'm not going to get into. I'll let you talk to Danny afterwards. It's basically the aesthetic approach to arts education, that all of us in our own life experience and in our own world can appreciate and engage in the arts without taking a music appreciation course, without learning sonata form or art history or what have you. And a lot of work has been done on this at Harvard University in a project called Project Zero. And the Lincoln Center Institute has also been very involved. And in fact, one of the leading proponents of this educational philosophy is Eric Booth, who is a professor at Juilliard, who's been a project advisor from the beginning, and in fact is leading the community engagement portion of the Music from the Inside Out strategy. He will hold workshops in about 15 communities across the country with arts educators and administrators, using the documentary as a catalyst to help communities see how they can, infuse arts in every aspect of their community life as well as in their schools. Moving right along. Don't forget about evaluation, budgeting, scheduling. Anyway, so the one thing that I want to share with you about working with an educational partner, involve them early on. As I said, Music from the Inside Out started with the educational partners. Involve them seriously. Any educational institution, if they're a membership organization, has a pretty good idea of what that membership is worth. I mean, Hertz and Avis and everybody is trying to come to them to leverage into that audience. So be very sure that, that you're serious and that you've done your homework and that you really understand what the various educational aspects are of any project. I would say that educational partnerships can't be faked. Teachers, and most folks who run educational organizations, potential partners, are former teachers. So they really know the subject, and they're very sensitive to people who, sort of come in and try and pretend like they have some new something. So again, national standards. Oh, It's important to align your specific project goals with the goals of your educational partner. Most educational institutions are grant recipients. They're not necessarily grant makers. So there can be a conflict when they feel that, in fact, you may be cannibalizing potential funding sources. So in working together, figure out a way that's a win-win situation, and be prepared as you go in to cover out-of-pocket expenses. It's rare, it happens, but it's rare that an organization would carry your water to go out and raise funding to, do efforts around your particular film. Understand the constraints and concerns of frontline teachers who are the members of your educational partner. Most teachers need at least 6 to 8 months lead time with materials to begin incorporating them into their lesson plans. And while world events will cause a change, the curriculum doesn't change that much, and things landing on their desk are not going to, suddenly be incorporated into a lesson plan. Off-air taping rights with generous windows are a must. PBS generally asks for 1 year off-air taping rights, and you don't have to give them. If you think your film can make more money in the educational market, you may not want to, but it becomes a balance between reach and impact. If your funders are looking to make a difference and reach this audience that you have through your educational partner distribution links into, then you in fact want them to engage with the material as easily as possible. So off-air taping rights are probably a good idea. Don't underestimate the amount of work and attention that will be required to establish, manage, and bring to fruition a successful partnership. Projects, particularly those destined for the wacky world of public television, rarely follow the timeline that you started out with. So it's important to keep your partner engaged. And a relationship with an institution is very different from personal relationships. And I will say that Danny has done a really great job of keeping Menk involved in this project over a 7-year period. I mean, you can imagine over 7 years there can be personnel changes, there can be funding changes. So to establish the kinds of formal relationships through having briefings, bringing them up to date, letting them know what's going on, letting them understand how the funding structure is working is really, really critical. 2 resources. The National Center for Outreach, www.nationaloutreach.org, is an amazing website, and they have case studies and examples. I'm sure that all of the very knowledgeable people in this room who were partially responsible for setting it up will tell you more about it. And then WGBH has a very interesting website. It's not www, it's just http, enhancinged.wgbh.org. And it's geared towards public television particularly, but it's a very good primer on how to put together from the beginning an educational outreach to accompany a broadcast project.
Say that website again.
enhancinged.wgbh.org. And there's a link from there to all of the different standards of learning for various different, it really kind of goes out in a whole variety of different directions.
And by the end of the week, you'll be able to go to the resources page for this conference and be able to link there.
I have one more thing to say. Why go through the hassle? Because you can expand your audience. You can make more sales. You can get DVDs out. And in reaching this audience, you have a whole phalanx of foot soldiers who are engaged in your topic and can make all the difference in the world. Thank you very much.